Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights of the modern regeneration of the show. Visit our website, whoknewpodcast.com, email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter and on Facebook at Who Knew Podcast. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast. Today's episode is the 2007 Christmas special, Voyage of the Damned. Find out what happens when an unsinkable ship runs into an unmovable Tardis. Yes, the Titanic runs into the Tardis. It must be Christmas again. This episode is written by Russell T. Davis, directed by James Strong. It originally aired on the 25th of December, 2007, and was watched by 12.2 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hello, this is Frank.
Information. This is Kelsey.
Hello, this is Auburn.
This is Josh.
Arlene.
This is Brian.
The Doctor quickly repairs the TARDIS and boards the ocean liner to discover that it is actually a spacefaring replica orbiting the Earth. It is there so the aliens on board can witness the natives celebrating Christmas. On the bridge, the captain bends the rules and allows the crew to have a drink. Midshipman Frame insists that he stay behind due to regulations.
So this picks up exactly where Martha's last episode ends.
Last of the Time Lords?
Yeah. So she walks back into her house and he's walking around the TARDIS, and then the ship, which we discover is the Titanic, crashes into the TARDIS. And he looks at the ship and he reverses everything so the TARDIS fixes itself. And there's just a little part of me going, aren't you reversing now onto your timeline? Aren't you not allowed to do that?
Oh, is that what he was doing? I thought it was more just, it was just repairing itself.
Not that, okay, so that he was just moving away from the ship.
Yeah, and the TARDIS fixed itself.
But it did look, when it was melting back together, that there was that glow of regeneration energy around the ship.
What I did see, though, is that when it crashed, it had the lifesaver flew in. Mm-hmm. The lifesaver never flew out, so it was repairing itself.
Oh. And also the foghorn should have gone... I like that we are the aliens. You don't really get that in this episode when you just casually watch it, that you're not seeing any humans. Mm-hmm. These are all beings from another planet coming to watch these, primitive natives celebrate their holiday.
But they are humanoid. At one point, I thought they were going to make a connection to Cassandra, because like that one flashback we had of her, they were in like a retro cafe type of setting, and they were wearing like flapper sort of dress. And then to see these aliens that are humanoid dressing in Earth period attire, I thought there might have been a connection, but that's just, was never realized.
So did they make the ship look like the ocean liner for the company's gimmick? This is the Titanic.
The line is, this is the most famous ship from Earth.
Right. So they made it look like it.
Yes.
Okay.
He made a replica of that because it was the most famous, and then the Doctor goes, did you find out why?
Right.
Basically, it's a cosplay convention at Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Right.
Is what this ship is.
When I first watched this episode, I couldn't stand it, but the more I watch it, I still don't think it's any good in a lot of places, but I enjoy it more and more every time I watch it because I start to realize things like that.
They're also doing an homage to
Poseidon Adventure.
It's an homage to Starship Titanic by
Douglas Adams.
Yes, okay. Douglas Adams. He has a short story called Starship Titanic, and Russell just couldn't resist. He just thought that was great. And Douglas Adams was actually a story editor for Doctor Who. So he has a history with Doctor Who. So I remember the first time I saw this, and he backs away and you see the starship, and it was like, oh, Douglas Adams.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, oh, that's funny to finally see it on screen.
That's cool.
But it has, that's it. It doesn't copy the plot or anything like that. It's just Russell having fun.
It's just the image.
The image of the Titanic in space.
Now that I know that, we'll go through this and we'll see how many things I don't like get thwarted.
Yeah. The Doctor asks about the ship to one of the many heavenly hosts robots who are there to assist the passengers. It tells the Doctor that Titanic was named by its owner, Max Capricorn. As it is about to tell more about Max Capricorn and his corporation, it begins to short circuit. A steward intervenes and takes the damaged host below, where other malfunctioning robots are either being fixed or tossed into space.
There's a couple homages or references here. He says Passenger 57, the Wesley Snipes movie. And then when the heavenly host is malfunctioning, it says Max, Max, Max. That's a Max Headroom reference because he's glitching.
Oh, that's cool.
When they take the malfunctioning information robot down,
The
and
hosts.
then the host down there, and the guy who took it down, what's his rank? What
He's a steward.
the steward took him down. He was like, yeah, they're on the blink again.
Oh.
I thought that was interesting because when I first saw the host, I'm like, angels.
Yeah,
oh
the
man.
angels,
And
yeah.
even Auburn was like, oh, these guys are up to no good. Like, you got any? Yeah.
Because I was like, we've just come off the Weeping Angels, and now you're showing us winged angel robots again. It was just kind of like, really, guys? Come on, let's do something a little bit more original. But I've kind of gotten used to them now.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the initial things in it seem off-putting, but when you put it in context that it's that particular, it's Christmas, and then they have to fly. I mean, there's just a lot of things that make sense. That it's like,
And then they have to kill you. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, like Christmas trees.
exactly.
To the angel motif that we were talking about, to go with, there's a production explanation to why that is, because Voyage of the Damned was being written already, and then Stephen Moffat turned in Blink, and then Russell saw the angels and goes, oh, crap.
Oh.
So it was already in production before Blink was turned in as a script. So he was like, he said they're just like robot butlers, but they happen to look like angels.
And like you say, it does fit. But it is 3 episodes after Blink. But now you get distance from when it originally aired, and I see it more and more. I'm like you. I like it, but now I like it even more.
I thought the set was great. I love the layout of the ship. The logo for the ship I thought was a great design. I mean, just everything about it seemed very... As a Californian, it was like Queen Mary.
Yes,
like,
it's very much like the Queen Mary.
coming from
yeah.
California and going there. It's like, so it had that great feel to it. I love that.
And another connection is we owe its existence to Blink, because Blink was the cheap Doctor Light episode,
right.
so that they could have money to do a Christmas special.
And Jingle Bells was played again.
Yes.
And whenever Jingle Bells plays, you know something bad's going to happen with those. Because the trees attack, at Christmas Invasion. I think that's when the ornaments are attacking during Runaway Bride. And then he steps out and Jingle Bells is playing and goes up to see the host. It's like, okay, something's going on.
And I love the song that is sung by the band during the dance.
That's always a tradition. Now that they have the Christmas special traditions, there's always a original song to accompany those.
Yeah, this one's
specials.
called Stowaway.
Oh, stowaway. I'm getting it now.
That's what I said
Planet
last
Stowe.
night. Yeah.
This is all getting more clever. So okay.
The Doctor's like looking around and he's getting his bearings of everything that's going on. He's figuring out everything. Astrid just walks past him. And no specific camera angle on her at all.
But then in that same sort of shot, there's that one steward that you can tell he's an extra because he looks kind of in the camera's direction.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah. Extras.
Oh, I thought you had some news.
That's extra.
So we're going to take that out, right?
No.
No.
Oh no.
That's good.
Your groans give me power.
For Toph's sake.
The Doctor comes across Astrid Peth, a cocktail waitress, and confides that he is a stowaway. She left her planet Stowe to see what is out there in the universe. She wants to even see more, but they don't allow shore leave for the staff. He also meets Morvin Van Hoff and his wife Foon, who won this trip in a contest. As their shore excursion is called, the Doctor grabs Astrid and joins the group using the psychic paper as their tickets. They are all given teleport bracelets by Mr. Copper, the ship's historian, who tells them the traditions of Christmas.
Love his traditions. Wish they were true.
So, I mean, some of the traditions were from the country of UK. Good King Wenceslas
Yeah,
runs that country. They worship the great god Santa and his wife Mary.
Oh, right.
He has fearsome claws. And we go to war with Turkey and then eat them.
Is this how Jewish people think Christmas really is?
Yes. Of course.
What did you all think of the Van Hoof's Space Texas Quatuor?
I think it fit, in the context of the whole episode.
And they were doing that as Earth as to be dressed in Earth clothing, or was that
I think so.
Stoen clothing?
No, I think it's Earth because of like Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in
You
the future.
really want me to dress like this? That's how they dressed in 1885.
Who dressed you like that, Marty? You did, Doc.
Well, they say that the other people told them it was fancy dress.
Yeah.
And that's like a British term for
Costumes. Yeah.
I see.
I didn't know that, so that makes a
Yeah.
lot more sense why they thought it was more costume party.
Yeah, because if you said fancy dress to an American, you'd be wearing tuxedos. So whenever you ever hear a British person say fancy dress, they don't mean formal. They mean costume.
I'm a Van Hoff.
I don't have anything to say, but I wanted to give. Does anyone have anything that they want to say about Astrid's introduction, like her moment with the doctor?
It's great. Instantly, it's like, yeah, you're a companion. You know, you have all the, you check all the boxes of companion.
Attributes, would you say?
Blonde.
Just the one.
But just the that she wants something more. She says, another sky, new air, new life. And at the exact same time, she just seems like an ordinary person.
Yeah, I was going to say the ordinary part because she's like working class, and that's kind of what we've known for the companions in this era. And the line that she asks, "Are you traveling alone?"
That part he said, "Are you traveling for fun?" He goes, "Yes, always for fun," but doesn't always work out that way. He just for a lone part, it was right now. Yeah, there was somebody, but no, I'm traveling alone.
And then, you know, she like immediately opens up to the doctor, which is nice. So she's telling the doctor what she feels, and the doctor then opens up to her and says, "I'm a stowaway," because he knows he's going to be okay with her, you know. And she totally is like, "Oh, I'll get you a free drink," you know. And immediately you can see that they're just clicking, and I loved it.
I thought she was really good too in this whole episode. I was surprised.
Yeah, I thought at first it was going to be like a gimmick,
Yeah.
but it turned out to be okay.
And she's played by Kylie Minogue. Does everybody know who Kylie Minogue is?
She's a pop star.
Yeah.
In
Australian
Australia.
pop star, yeah.
And Britain,
don't.
and in England as well.
Her biggest song in America was the Locomotion, the remake
Remake?
of the Locomotion in the 80s, back
Yeah.
when you were
Whoa,
around.
she's.
She's the
was
highest
very
selling
young.
Australian artist of all time. I mean, she's big.
Oh,
She's
wow.
huge.
We're talking Madonna.
She was on a show in Australia too before she was a
Neighbours.
pop star, I think.
Yeah,
right?
she was on the soap opera Neighbours,
Oh,
which
okay.
when I was in Ireland, I got hooked on.
Ooh.
So
I think she was also on the Street Fighter 2 movie with Van Damme.
Oh yeah.
Horrible movie.
Okay, hold on. So, the Locomotion.
Come on, come
Yeah,
on.
that's a remake?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I thought that
Wait,
was
is it-
the song from the 80s. I know the song. I didn't realize it was a
It's
remake.
a song from like the 50s or the 60s.
60s.
It's
Oh.
Motown.
She was also in Moulin Rouge. She was the Green Fairy.
Oh, okay.
Was
The
she?
Green Fairy.
Oh wow.
Transporting down, they discover the streets are deserted. Astrid sighs that it is beautiful, a real alien world. The doctor takes a moment to enjoy it with her, but then goes to the only human in sight, a man running a newspaper stand. He says that everyone left London this Christmas because of what happened the past 2 years. Everyone except him and the Queen. The group is suddenly transported back to the ship due to a power fluctuation right in front of him. Astrid thanks the doctor for taking her and goes back to work.
Like it's one of those like setups, you know, because the doctor sets us up to be like, it's gonna be crowded, we're gonna be noticed, people are gonna know that we're aliens or whatever, and then
Empty because of what happened the past 2 years
and it's
in Christmas time.
Yeah,
But it's also great because then, and Astrid is like, I'm on a different planet. I'm on a different planet. And he's like, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden he's happy for her and he shares it with her, the excitement of being on a new planet, which he probably hasn't felt for a very, very long time. It's just all great. And then they go to the...
which makes her a good companion.
Yeah.
Because that's what the companions
stinks.
do. He's been traveling and it's not, because he's been traveling and time traveling for so long, it's not always as exciting. But, you know, her reaction is like the same reaction that we see from all the companions on their first trip in the Tardis, is this like, oh my goodness, this is a new planet, or oh my goodness, this is a different time.
I was actually confused at first because I didn't expect them to beam down in present day. So I thought it was some sort of post-apocalyptic, no one was around, because they were in space and they hadn't connected anything to the planet at all.
That's true.
I just, at first, when no one was around, I just automatically assumed there are no people on the planet, and this is more like a walk through ruins.
That's a good point. They never established the time period of Earth.
Yeah.
The doctor and Astrid are on the street and they look up at one point and there's no stars in the sky. So that is our first mention of that.
Oh, is
Well,
that
that's only because of
that's
the
a-
lights and the pollution.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
all
just
that
saying,
is.
I'm just saying.
Or is it?
Lights,
It is,
it's the lights
because-
and the pollution.
Because the newspaper man sets the time, saying
you're digging.
the last 2 years things have happened. And what I thought was a great way to do it is they have a news broadcast on the television showing what's happened the last 2 years, so we don't see an actual flashback. But it is about the Christmas invasion with the cigarettes up above. And then it goes, last year with the whole big North Star coming down electrocuting everything. So I thought doing that on the television was a great way to remind everybody of what happened the last 2 years. And so that sets it in a time period.
Yeah, that's all that is. It's not.
Is it
But it's very
foreshadowing
convenient.
to something else?
He's saying it's foreshadowing somewhere.
Okay.
I'm
I
saying
don't remember.
I'm saying you can take this that way. I'm not saying it's either way. I'm just saying I noticed it.
I will say that when I heard that there was no stars in the skies, I'm like, is this foreshadowing?
See?
But then I don't remember anything that I've ever seen.
One more production thing is that during the filming of this scene with the abandoned streets and everything, Colin Baker and Russell T. Davis visited that particular location, and Colin Baker is the sixth Doctor.
Really? Oh, good for him.
Should we address the newspaper guy now since we...
Sure,
Yes,
we can
that's
address it now.
it's a fun little story. I don't know the whole story, so you guys tell.
Oh, I
tell
thought
the
you had a story.
No,
'Cause
I like this scene. I like this character.
He's just a
Newspaper
Londoner.
stand man.
Yeah, he just sells newspapers,
yeah.
but he's a Londoner through and through, and no
Stands
pesky,
with the queen.
no pesky aliens are gonna run him off. Nope, and he's standing with his queen.
And it was just a one-time role for this actor. So on the script, what they were talking about beforehand, they gave him the name of Stan, but it was never used in the actual episode. So no one said his name, so he's just didn't really need it. Yeah. And later on, he comes back in future episodes. And so they retconned that was that same character. Since his name was never used, no foul.
But starting from this point and going back with no future episodes in mind, the actor is Bernard Cribbins, who played Tom Campbell in the Daleks' Invasion of Earth 2150 AD. And this is the second Doctor Who feature film starring Peter Cushing as the Doctor, and it's not in canon.
Oh.
Bernard Cribbins also showed up to the set with like a bag of props. Like he was ready to give them whatever they wanted. And the holly that's in his hat is grown from his wife's garden. And then he painted the berries redder with her nail polish. So all the stuff he has is all his stuff.
Excellent.
That's fun.
Excellent.
And it was always his dream in life to shoot a Dalek.
Oh, yeah?
Who doesn't have that dream?
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I don't dream.
And also, fun factoid: the Queen does not spend Christmas in London. The Queen spends Christmas in Scotland at Balmoral Castle. So for the Queen to stay in London is extra courageous for her because she's not even supposed to be there. That was my fun fact.
Information.
On the bridge, Frame sees some meteoroids nearing the ship. The captain magnetizes the hull to draw the meteoroids to it and powers down the shields. The Doctor, having hacked into the ship's systems, finds out that the shields are offline. He calls the bridge to warn her, but is taken into custody. Frame tells the captain that the caller was right and attempts to power up the shields, but is shot by the captain. The Doctor breaks away from the men holding him and tries to warn the passengers in the dining hall about the iceberg, the meteoroids, but is stopped mid-sentence and dragged away. Astrid and the Van Hoffs try to intervene on his behalf. Rixton Slade, a bombastically pompous passenger, watches as a small stone breaks through a window. He asks the hosts if the shielding is intact and gets the response, "You are all going to die." Slade runs to tell the chief steward as the meteoroids hit. They spent a lot of money on those meteoroid effects, didn't they?
That was not the best.
That's not the best.
Yeah, some of them look better than it's just weird.
It was just silly how they all changed course in uniform direction. It just
And in the course of this episode, we have many Christmas allusions and Easter eggs. Are these the three wise men? Coming in?
Following the star?
Yeah,
But they're
following the star. They are the stars.
Now that's digging.
And Josh, just think about Max Capricorn's attention to detail on the ship. Having the foghorn, the communication devices having the old whistle for the ship, and actually going down to the captain carrying an old-fashioned gun.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, that's
We're
true.
stretching this a little far.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
And we've seen that gun before.
Is it
It's
Jack's?
Captain Jack's Webley gun.
Do they only have one prop at the BBC?
That's what my note was like. Do they only have that?
Oh,
one gun? Do
man.
they share it between
Guns
Torchwood?
are
and-
really, really rare in the United Kingdom.
The thing about that gun is the fact that it only fires bullets that are obviously not fatal, and a hand over your belly can help you survive.
But they're
They're not-
aliens.
yeah, they're aliens.
How do you know that in Stowe that
All
is
right.
where your gut is?
That's the bullet pocket.
Yeah.
What's he in now that's real big? All I know him from is he was in an episode of Sherlock, I think,
Yes.
and the Crisis on Earth X recently.
He was the Ray on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was that BBC show
Being
where he
Human.
played a werewolf.
Being human.
Being human.
Oh.
The captain of the Titanic, he is a very famous
I recognized
character
him.
actor.
I have some notes
Every
on
single British sitcom that was ever made from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. I think his biggest one was probably As Time Goes By with Judi Dench.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
that. I was going to say for us, it would probably be A Fish Called Wanda. He plays the judge.
Yeah.
So speaking of that guy, Captain Hardacker is played by Jeffrey Palmer, and his son is Charles Palmer, who has directed several Doctor Who episodes. It starts with Smith and Jones, the Shakespeare Code, Human Nature, and Family of Blood that we've covered so far.
Really?
Yep.
I don't hate those episodes.
I don't
Yeah.
either.
As the meteors hit the ship and we have the outside camera angle of the captain on the bridge, I really liked that push in, and the window even has a circular
circle.
thing that frames the captain's face. I think that shot, and they went back to it a couple times, but it was just marvelous. It was a fantastic.
Would you say it's molto bene?
Molto bene, yes. It was a great way to really focus on the captain's emotions as this part of the plan was unfurling.
Because it frames him.
Yes.
Some might say it mid-frames.
Yeah. Some night.
I will edit laughs into that.
These are the ones, yeah.
The two characters are really good. They have a part to play in the drama, so they're not very three-dimensional. But the captain really does give a lot of sense of depth, regret, loss, and purpose. He said, they told me that they would only have older men who have already lived their lives and no one young. That he's dying, and he's doing this for his family. And then you've got Midshipman Frame, who's new and eager and do everything by the book. With what they have to do in their roles, they really play them well.
And a real geeky callback was the ship started going red alert, red alert. Shouldn't it be mauve alert. Isn't that
should be mauve
internationally
alert.
known as sea distress call?
That's a deep, deep dive.
Maybe red is mauve
The
on
ninth
Stowe.
That went
Doctor.
right over my head.
No, because it's only on Earth. Everywhere else in the galaxy, it's mauve.
Maybe Stowe's backwards.
Well,
When
then
we
it
first saw
should-
Captain
okay.
Jack,
Empty child.
Yes, the empty
the
child.
they had mentioned that.
The Doctor and his group of survivors, Mr. Copper, the Chief Steward, Astrid, Morven, Foon, Slade, and Banakafalata, a short, red, spiky cyborg, are trapped together in a section of the ship. The Chief Steward tells them to be calm and goes to find out the condition of the ship and is sucked out into space. They watch as other bodies float dead in space, and the Doctor sees the Tardis among the debris, heading toward Earth. The Doctor calls the bridge and talks to Frame. The captain was killed in the collision, and the nuclear engines powering the ship are cycling down. Once they go offline, the ship will lose orbit and crash into the Earth, killing everyone. He instructs Frame how to temporarily stabilize the engines until he can get there. The group then begins the trek to get to the bridge. There's got to be a morning after.
Poseidon Adventure joke.
It's their stowaway song.
It is, yeah. So he sees the TARDIS floating off in space, and he's like, oh, well, when that happens, it's programmed to go to the nearest center of gravity. Well, that's a really stupid idea, because it's like a star, a black hole, a white dwarf. Yeah, couldn't you have just said, the nearest planetary surface?
Then we'd have no stories.
It's just some way to get rid of the TARDIS. It was
Yeah.
not done well.
Yeah.
If this was written today, I think the Chief Steward would use the Force and pull himself back to the ship.
Bala Cavalata, the actor, was in The Last Jedi.
Yes, he was. He was R2-D2.
Oh, really?
Was he really? You
You
brought it up.
didn't know that? You just said that? You're like, I'm just going to take a wild stab and say that he was in a...
Well, when I rolled the cursor over the episode, it said that he was just in The Last Jedi. I didn't say who he was.
All right.
That was all the information I acquired.
Ladies
You
and
didn't ask a
gentlemen,
host.
Research
ladies
done.
and gentlemen,
Information.
Josh is back.
There you go.
So Jimmy V plays Bana Kafalata. He was R2-D2 in The Last Jedi. He was the Grask in that one special that was interactive. We mentioned it in the Children in Need special. And then he was a bunch of goblins in Harry Potter's, movies. He was also the Mox Balhoun at the end of the world. And then he's going to play the Grosk in Sarah Jane Adventures.
I didn't know he was a mask about whom.
What is that?
The blue guy that was talking with the face of Bo.
One of my other critiques of this episode is the amount of death.
Yes, very.
And
There's a lot of death.
here, like this first death from the steward. We also have a visual effect here that is repeated.
This is our first one.
This is our first one. Oh yeah, I noted that. Where he's like flying out, and yeah, they
Falling
use it a
towards
lot.
Earth?
Yes, but if just falling, it feels like somebody got a green screen or like a
That's
rig
exactly
for
what somebody did.
Christmas. And yes, and they were like, okay, well, every death this episode we're going to use that setup and put in different backgrounds and.
There was a lot of death because also just the whole
bodies.
impact
So, yeah.
of them. So they had all the bodies flying around and in the actual Poseidon adventure. Oh no, it's a Titanic. Just with explosions going on and all that. So they didn't really show it because it is a television show, but represented that a lot of people died.
2,000
In
people
that.
on that ship.
And it bothered me because this episode was exceptionally hokey for like a child, something that a child
Right.
would really like, but yet there's tons of people dying. And I like the episode.
I mean, no. I mean, it would be okay if they had just talked about it. I mean, like Alderaan gets blown up in Star Wars. We just don't see these people. We don't know them, but it still does happen. Everybody on the Death Star gets blown up. Ooh. But, so it's like if it had happened off screen, but we haven't gotten to it yet, but there were like specific instances where we're seeing good, innocent, completely harmless people and they're screaming for their lives. And it's like, okay.
There are episodes like that, though. Like, have we got to Waters of Mars yet?
No, we haven't.
No.
All right, well. There are episodes.
He's been traveling through time a lot. He has his own little diary and going, have we done this podcast yet? No. Okay, but a different time frame now. Got it.
Wow. Josh does not live
episode yet.
in linear time.
I don't. But there are episodes where people get, ticked off.
I think it was done well enough with the explosions, with the people on board the ship, with the debris outside the ship.
I don't like
think
the body.
That touched the seriousness of it in a hokey episode, and that kind of thing. So I think that does bounce okay. I think just later on, we're getting to it.
Yeah.
The other, and spoiler, people who die, are treated silly because it's so repetitive in the format. So I think that's when it just goes overboard.
Pun intended.
Actually, no.
To lighten things up.
Please. And in steerage,
Jack and Rose are just still partying down.
Steaming things up. Anyway.
Sorry. That took me a moment. Model T spaceship.
The I am the doctor speech that he gives in there.
Yes.
It feels out of place sometimes when I watch it, depending on my mood, because of what you just mentioned of all the
Yes.
death. But then other times I'm like, this is fine. This works. The perfectly timed fire and all of that in the background. But I think what I like about that speech is the soundtrack playing underneath it is the Voyage of the Damned Suite that you can find on the season 4 soundtrack. And I just think it's like a culmination of a bunch of things. And I really like it.
I look at that as they were shooting the ultimate promo that will be used for Doctor Who until literally the end of time.
I mean, it is very melodramatic, but it kind of grounds the episode a little bit, brings the silliness down. Like, it kind of like, oh, this is why we like Doctor Who, because of a moment like this.
In breaking the timeline just a little bit, I think this is like the beginning of what our next companion is going to start to try to fix in the Doctor. Because the Doctor at this point is letting a lot of stuff get to his head. And that was the culmination, I feel, of
I'm the Time Lord.
I'm the Time Lord. I'm great. Look at all the stuff I can do. He's forgotten about him destroying his own world and getting to this place. Well, I am the one who chooses and does things. It's
There's I think, a better line to hammer that home with at the end of this.
yes,
Yes, I agree.
yes. This
Yeah,
is where
but
you
this
see
is,
it.
but I agree.
Yep.
I really like that, Arlene. And I think especially because this is like a high point for him. And then also connected to all the deaths. Right around here, we see him promise everybody, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. We're going to get you through this, you know? And so the rest of this episode, is his starting to descend to humility. But no, you really nailed it.
I didn't realize that everybody he said that to dies, and the only people he doesn't say that to survive.
Yeah, either way, he makes a grand declaration that he can't hold up by the end. Even the person that we think is going to be the next companion.
Wow. Very good.
But it's him.
It's Arlene.
It was us.
That's why we
It was
work
the
well
collective.
together.
It was a collective we, meaning
We.
me.
Because he brought us together.
The group comes across a non-functional host. Morven and Foon work to fix the robot so that they can use its strength to help them get through the damaged ship. Astrid and Banakavalata crawl through a small hole and try to enlarge the opening from the other side. Foon confesses to Morven that she entered the contest 5,000 times, which costs them 5,000 credits. They don't have the credits to pay the bill when they get home, and he just laughs.
This had a nice little moment between Astrid and Banakafalata. And it was a good character part. You find out that he's holding this huge secret in that has been ostracized on the planet Stowe, that he is actually a cyborg. And so he confesses to Astrid. And she goes, oh, it is a whole gay analogy. Going, oh no, they have rights now and they can even get married type of thing. Going, no, things are changing, but just the stigma of being a cyborg.
Yeah, and it's also another example of somebody sharing with Astrid their secrets. That Astrid is one of those people that is immediately trustworthy. Again, very companionable material. Then that's also a credit to Kylie Minogue, because she does play Astrid so...
It's like innocent but not naive.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
It's the doctor, I think after the meteors hit, he says something about all of his Christmases are like this, or the suit is just really unlucky.
Yes.
Right.
And I didn't know what that was.
And Mr. Cooper's like,
Copper.
Mr. Copper. So
Yeah.
Mr. Copper says, this is very traditional in the
Christmas is a violent time.
And the doctor's like, no, it's peaceful and loving and giving. Oh, who am I kidding? All my Christmases are like this. And then he adds, or maybe it's just the suit. What is that? What does he mean?
Every
by
time
that?
he's in the tuxedo, bad things happen.
Because we brought that up in the
Lazarus experiment.
and before that it
And
was
the
the
Cybermen.
Cybermen episode.
Yeah.
And I love how he still wears his chucks with the tuxedo.
Yeah.
The damaged hosts below deck reactivate and kill an engineer. Frame is talking over the intercom to a group of trapped kitchen staff when the hosts arrive. He listens helplessly as the hosts kill them. Frame contacts the doctor and warns him about the hosts. Just as the Van Hoffs restore the one they found, it immediately attacks them. The doctor fights it off as they all run and squeeze through the small opening. Slade refuses to help get anyone through. The doctor questions the host about its orders and finds out they are coming from Deck 31. The host tries to come through the gap, but Copper releases his hold, dropping a girder on its head. At the same time, another group of hosts reach the bridge, but Frame locks them out, sealing off the bridge. No one can get inside.
It's double dare locked.
Because when deadlocked isn't enough, you need to double deadlock.
I think we get a maximum deadlock. Frame is maximum
bridge.
deadlock,
On
but
the
the
bridge.
angel's grip on one of the Van
double
Hoffs is double deadlock.
And what gets me is so the doctor can't do anything to the host because it's double deadlocked. But Foon and Morven were just climbing inside his head, and that's actually still open. So it's like, well, then just reach in and grab it and pull something out of his head to shut him down.
Right.
And this is where Frame's injuries are inconsistent, because he's
And
like...
his costume?
Yeah, it's just weird how he's able to find that last bit of energy to burst forth and seal the door, where the whole time he's
He's
just
able
like...
to take his jacket off, burst to the door, lock it with
Yeah.
the double lock, put his jacket
it
back
back
on,
on.
and then leave. So,
and then scream like
Yeah, and
he's
then
got
scream,
like
yeah.
he's not harmed at all.
Yeah, because continuity, his jacket disappears and then comes back on.
I love the design of the angel's halo, and when they remove it, the devil horns.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Oh, I never got that.
Me neither.
I thought that was off.
Well,
But
the
there were
halo. I thought when you took it off,
posts.
No,
they're
it's
just
two.
posts,
They're
but
just
that's,
two
to me
posts
were
now.
horns. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
they turned into angels and devils. I love that design.
The group finds some food and decide to rest a bit, giving the hosts time to catch up to them. Copper admits he's a phony. He retired with nothing to show for his life, and Earth sounded exotic to him. More hosts find them and they run. The doctor locks the door behind them as they realize they must cross a cavern on a thin, fallen beam laying over the burning engines.
Who would write this?
The look of it just seemed, wait a minute, this is the way the engines are supposed to be? It's the wording in the script versus the visuals that they come up with are not consistent to each other.
What is that beam anyway? Because it looked like it was like bits and pieces of other things.
Yeah, it looked like it was almost supposed to be there, but I think it may have just bent over.
Figured it had fallen
I thought it was something that
from
fell.
one side and fell.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
like, when a tree gets felled in the forest and doesn't go all the way to the ground because it lands on
someone hear
another
it?
tree.
Right.
So it,
But it did. It looked like something fell, but then it looked like a bunch of debris.
Well, a little bit later, they started taking pieces off
Yeah,
of it
yeah.
to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Too convenient.
Great. But then there's doors on either side, so there should have been a bridge there.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're exactly across from each other, looking at each other.
Well, maybe they shot out the activation for the bridge when they were swinging across.
Yeah.
Someone was hitting the eggnog pretty hard when they wrote this
Well, it was
episode.
also very Star Wars because there's no handrails or banisters on any bridge. So, Mr. Copper tells his secret, and he's telling it to the Doctor and also to Astrid. I just like a couple of the little things in there. He's like, you don't know that much about Christmas. I know Christmas. I was there. I got the last room. I love that
Yeah.
line.
This episode feels like it was written for kids by someone who's never been around kids because of the violence and simplicity of the rich guy. I can't remember his name.
Slade.
The simplicity and the clichédness of some of the characters, and even the flirting with baklava. I used to be able to say it. Badakavalata. There's just a lot of juvenile way of writing in this, but then there's all this death and seriousness and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Before Mr. Copper is confessing his secret, Astrid and the Doctor have a moment, and the Doctor is confiding in Astrid. And usually it's like kind of the other way around, where the Doctor is trying to get something out of somebody else. So I think that's worth noting that in this case, Astrid is able to get something out of the Doctor.
What was it at this point? I can't quite remember.
I think she comes over and says, well, you may be a time king from Gallipy. Which I thought was a fun little line.
I like that.
And then, but you look great in your tux. She goes, well, you used to see me in the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
The way she says that is perfect.
So that was really good. And is this where she asked to travel with them?
I think this is the
And I
point.
think that's what you were talking about
Yeah.
on your notes, is that she brings that up and gets it out of the Doctor. Yes. you can
Instead of
travel.
him in extending the invite,
Maybe a
right?
little later, but
I think it might be a little later.
Okay, then.
but that's just Slade. I mean, he definitely said, I'm not helping anybody. I'm here for myself.
Right.
And how at the time, I think a lot of people saw that as, oh, then he's just a jerk and a bad guy and all this. If it was written now, I think people would say, yeah, that's the way you're supposed to be. That came out in 2017, 2018. That's the way you're supposed to be, because that's what all these shows and movies that we're watching now highlight and honor. And the darkness and the dystopian futures and the,
No hope.
Batman versus Superman and anything else. Anybody who would be good and trying to help is going to be killed.
But it would
Trying to help
have been
people.
written in a way of like they would be written in a way of that they weren't smart about it. Whereas he wouldn't have been written as so much of a jerk. He would have been written as more like, you people aren't listening. You people aren't doing what we need to do.
Right.
I get it.
It's just sort of seeing it in this character going, wow, in 10 years, how the story's told is very different now.
Well, I think his character was a remnant from the 80s with like Paul Reiser and Aliens. Like it's just the selfish greed is bad.
And now everyone's so selfish and greedy, it's normal.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, remember, the Wall Street greed is good. That speech was to show how evil that character was. And yet all of America went, yeah.
Yeah.
Sad. Morven steps on a weak part of the platform, which collapses, and he falls to his death.
Number 2.
Slade makes it to the other side, and the rest begin their way across the beam. Foon refuses to go on without her husband. The beam sags under their combined weight when the pounding on the door from the hosts stops. The hosts enter the cavern from above and fly down, attacking the group. Bonikavalata screams, "You shall not pass,"
This is Brian's version.
sends out an EMP from his body, causing the host to fall, with one of them landing on the beam. Bonikavalata is dying because he used all of his power to send the pulse. Fly, you fools. Copper removes the EMP device from his body. If they can power it up, they can use it again against the hosts. The host that landed on the beam reboots and is about to attack when the doctor distracts it with questions. The reason it must kill is so that there are no witnesses to the plan to destroy the Earth. The doctor asks why they want to destroy the Earth, but he has used up all his allotted amount of questions. The host is about to attack again when Foon lassos it from behind and takes it with her as she jumps to her death.
Although, did you realize when you see the two of them falling, she's not holding onto the rope anymore?
Yeah.
And if that thing could fly, then
would.
it could have just flown
No, its
away.
wings are gone.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, when it crashed, the wings fell off. Because I looked.
Oh, okay.
And when you see it falling, it doesn't have wings.
All right, scratch that.
That's number 3?
Three.
If you,
3.
the third fall.
The point where they start taking the stuff off of the beam and defending themselves, when David Tennant is swinging, and I think he's swinging at nothing, and then they added in the stuff afterwards.
Yes.
It reminded me very much of Bruce Boxleitner in Tron, the way he is doing that. Like, it just seems very committed, where sometimes I see that and I can tell that it's green screen, where, I don't know, David Tennant did it better than, like, let's say Mr. Copper.
He sells it so well. Like, I don't feel any false moment with him ever.
And I think that's why people love him as a doctor.
I thought it was a very touching little bit that Astrid did about trying to stop Copper from taking the EMP. Going, no, the person just died.
Right.
Don't touch him. Don't.
Yeah.
Just, it was small, but it was a nice little scene.
Mr. Copper says, "I used to sell these. I know what they're like." And he goes, Bonnie Cavalata would want us to use this. When I was selling these, the cyborg caravans, so now they're making a gypsy reference. So the gypsy caravans, I used to stay with them. They're good people. And so, again, just a little tiny little character bit, but when you think about it, that says a lot. Whereas it's reinforcing. It's like, he's discriminated against, but they're really good people.
And it also makes the world bigger. And I like that little bit, just like sparks your imagination.
The actor that plays Copper, he almost does too good of a job at like being in the moment with that, because it does go by so quick. He doesn't mug for the camera, or he doesn't like call attention to the fact that he's delivering these lines the same way with like all the Earthonomics stuff.
Yeah.
Like he just goes through it, owns it, and if you weren't paying attention, it just goes right by because it's so natural from him.
Well, one thing that's why I like rewatching a lot of these shows, because I will miss a lot of little things, and then when I watch it again, I'll hear this, that, and the other, and it's nice.
I just realized where I know the actor who plays Mr. Copper from, Keeping Up Appearances, right?
Oh,
He's Hyacinth's husband, right? I like Mr. Copper, and I recognize the actor. So the whole time
Clive
I'm
Swift.
watching, I was like, "Oh, who is this guy?" So I was going to ask you guys, how do we know? Or no, where do we know Mr. Copper from?
Mr.
actor.
Copper is played by Clive Swift, and I know him most from Excalibur, the John Boorman 1980s film.
When was he in that?
He was Ektar. The remaining group make it across. The doctor sends the other 3 to continue ahead, each with a task. Copper is to find a way to send an SOS. Astrid is to power up the EMP device and take out any hosts they find. Slade, using the preset sonic, is to open doors along the way. Astrid asks him that once this is over, if she could travel with him. The doctor agrees, and then hears from Frame that the engines only have 8 minutes of power left. He heads down to Deck 31 to find out what or who is behind all this.
I didn't realize they gave us a clock in this scene. 8 minutes left.
And this is the scene where she asks to be a companion, and he says yes. Has a person ever asked to be a companion and been accepted?
I don't think anyone's ever asked.
He's usually asking them.
Mickey
Okay.
did, but he was doing it kind of, well, can I come? He was like, I know the answer is going to be no. I'm trying to think of classic Who, but no one's asked.
But the kiss was a cute little bit of going to get the box to stand on it.
And the perfectly timed fireworks again. Literally and metaphorically.
Plus you grab the medical kit that could collapse and ruin all the stuff inside, just so you can kiss him.
Yeah.
She could go on her tiptoes.
It's
Come on.
deadlocked.
But the doctor's spine is deadlocked. She can't pull him down.
It is interesting that the Doctor seems so willing to travel again with someone who seemingly likes him.
Because he
She
like
kissed-
her.
He liked Astrid.
Yeah. I think
'Cause
he's
he
really...
It's a type.
Blondes.
It's a type.
Yes.
He has a type, but also, look at Astrid. Look at what we've... she's adventurous, and I like Astrid. So. It's also an anagram of Tardis, so it's kind of meant to be.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that was the rumor going around in the internet when that happened. Her name was an anagram of the TARDIS, meaning she would be the next companion.
And she is.
For a little bit.
For she's the companion in this
Because
episode.
he said yes.
Well, that's debatable because one of the tenets, if you will, of being a companion is you travel in the TARDIS.
I know.
And she never did.
I know. The Doctor runs into more hosts, and since he is a stowaway, convinces them to follow protocol and take him to their leader on Deck 31. The others battle their way back up to the dining hall. Astrid uses a bracelet and transports to Deck 31 and watches as the Doctor meets Max Capricorn's head, which is attached to a mobile life support device. Max wants revenge against the board members of his company who voted him out. The company would be held liable for the destruction of Earth, ruining it and throwing the board members in jail. He would be safe in an impact chamber built into the ship with plans to retire in style. He notices the engines are still running, so he shuts them off remotely. Max then orders the host to kill the Doctor, but Astrid uses a forklift and pushes Max over the edge into the chasm holding the engines. The host had cut her brake line, so the forklift can't stop, and she follows Max over the edge.
This is their aliens moment with Ripley and the
Get away from him.
forklift.
But
Power
that was
loader.
a thrown in, dubbed over line.
Oh, yeah.
By the doctor.
The brake.
By the brake
Oh, the
feeling.
host cut the brake line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that, but watching it with subtitles, I caught it.
And it's
sure-
also like nothing got cut from that thing, the flying disc. It just hit the side of the. But anyway,
Yeah, that's hydraulic.
This is where it lost me.
this is where it's losing me. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially with the slow motion, it kind of makes it worse.
And that there's no door on the forklift.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be, but there's no door on the forklift that got jammed or anything.
Why'd she
Yeah,
just
as you're going
jump
over,
out?
jump. I guess she jumped a little too late because she's not in the forklift as she's falling down.
Oh, really?
So she must have
No,
Number
she's-
four.
at one
She's in
point.
that same
Number four.
position.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She's on the green screen box.
Number four.
On the green screen.
So that
Field.
just bugged me. Going, she should have jumped. Yes, it's going. Jump beforehand and hold on.
I look at stuff like this very kind of almost metaphorically, like the idea of all these things happening just wasn't executed very well.
This is the scene that is not earned
Yeah.
in the rest of the episode.
Plus, Max Capricorn, he doesn't look all that. He just kept mugging. He didn't look horrified or scared. Like, oh no, I think I'm gonna die. He was like,
It looked too cartoony when he
yeah,
was yelling.
yeah. Like there were a lot of moments in this episode that didn't earn what they were doing.
I look at this now as okay. This is the moment where they're like, "Here's the big bad, and we're gonna make little kids love him."
Yeah.
He's all metal. He's just a head. Oh, his tooth actually sparkles. Oh, it really does that. What gets me though,
I found that funny,
I
though.
did find that funny as well.
but what gets me is why is Max on the ship to begin with? I mean, this is I just. It's convenient that he's on the ship so the Doctor can confront him.
Right.
But he builds this survivable thing, and there's going to be another ship out there that's going to come and rescue him, from the ruins of the Earth before anybody else gets there. And the whole time it's like, you don't need to be there. Why aren't you on that other ship?
He needs to die. He needs the board. He's been voted off, but he's still his name, his company.
Yeah, he needs to
He's
fake
not on
his
the
own
board, so he's faking his death so that he doesn't get any repercussions of it.
But he's not in the company anymore.
He just voted off.
Yeah.
I think I voted off the board, and it's like it's
voted
still
off
his
the board,
name. I don't know
yeah.
how he's attached to the company. Corporate takeovers and stuff. It's like you're still part of the company, but you have no power.
To me, it's like, he's only there because the script requires him to be
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to have your villain face off with your hero
Yeah.
at the
Right.
very end.
And again, it's like I wish like there had just been another pass to this entire script to make things a little bit more layered and a little bit more about the cyborgs being
Yeah.
discriminated against and how Max couldn't be Max anymore because he's
He's a
just a
cyborg.
talking head, and
They were just giving that depth. that you
just a
really
little
want.
bit of depth.
I think it was slightly earned when Rose saves Finn. I mean when Astrid saves the Doctor. Like she pulled it off. I feel, but I just mean as an actress that I think she was really good in those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of
And
it.
her falling on the front of the blue screen is probably the best of it.
But the structure of what's happening story wise is just a mess.
And then I don't mind those lines that they throw in, like, "Oh, I've always wanted to say that," when the story's good.
Yeah.
Right.
When he goes, "Take me to your leader."
Yeah.
Like, if it would have been just like that's the only thing that was a joke in a really horrible situation, it'd been like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of funny."
Well, but he even says, "Oh, I've always wanted to say that,"
And he did.
and he did. It's like,
he
"Oh,
said it
Doctor, you've already
twice.
said that."
Yeah.
In
Eccleston
other
said it
episodes, yeah.
in Aliens of London? Aliens in
Yeah, I
London.
thought it was, yeah.
You know, he's figures out at the beginning, you know, okay, protocol 666, 42, all
Yeah,
these things.
yeah, yeah.
42,
He
that was
finds
funny.
out protocol 1, he gets questions and he realizes, oh, there's only a certain amount. I only get 3. So then he meets the next group of hosts and goes, protocol 1, I know I got questions. Is that right? Yes. Question 1. No, that's not a question. Can I take it back? Question 2. And then he gets upset and it's like, okay, partly you can say
And
he
then
was
the
just
doctor
doing
kicks
that
in.
to stall while he's formulating everything, because then before question 3 he goes, okay, this is the whole thing, this is the whole setup, am I right, is the question. So he is stalling, but it comes off the way he's saying it is, oh no, I didn't mean that, you know, as an actual mistake. And I can't tell with
I think it was a
Tenet,
mistake.
was that playing it as, oh really, I'm not thinking, I got to start thinking, or was it just
Yeah.
stalling while the other part of my brain is figuring all this out?
I don't
think
see
it
it
was-
as a stall. I see it as Tennant's manic.
Oh, sorry.
And that's the crazy doctor just talk, 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 talk. He's trying to use words as a weapon, and these weapons aren't working for him.
Something that Max Capricorn says to the doctor is, he says, all this banter and not a word wasted.
Yes.
So
Yes.
perhaps, Frank, you are right. If the doctor can banter yet not waste a word, maybe he was stalling. I don't know
wasting
why
his
he
words,
would
it's just-
stall, but
But I'm not sure, I'm not saying one way or the other.
yeah, and
But I'm
saying
just
maybe-
thinking,
I wish both those
Honestly, don't
moments
dismiss
were
it.
in better episodes.
I mean, it was fun and it was nice and I liked it. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes episodes or
Work.
shows are better than the sum of their parts.
Yes.
You know, and when you break it down individually, it's not that good. This one is kind of the opposite. But I like this episode.
Yeah,
But it's
I do
not.
too.
I can also say it's not a good episode because of all these.
Yeah, like I was saying, earlier on when I watched this episode, I kept getting distracted by the things I didn't like. But I've seen it a number of times by now, so I was just sitting back and watching it, and I enjoyed it.
I like the makeup on Max Capricorn's head, the prosthetic. It reminds me a lot of RoboCop, the original RoboCop, where it looks as if they took the head and then they stretched the skin over the cybernetics. And I love that his neck, it feels like the cybernetics are deeper than skin level.
I agree.
I really like that.
Yeah.
In a kind of cheesy quality that doesn't work as a whole, but like you're saying, that portion works for me.
That portion works. The box
Yes. That doesn't
thing
work.
that he's
Yeah.
sitting in doesn't
Well,
work.
I think that effect works where it looks like the skin is over the mechanics.
I wish they would have shown the neck a little bit more because it wasn't until like the second time. I just thought it was just a head. And then the second time, it's like, oh, they did some really good work on the neck. I wish they would have highlighted it a little bit better.
So Max Capricorn is played by George Costigan. Originally, they were trying to get Dennis Hopper to play Max Capricorn. The scheduling didn't work out.
But
And
can you imagine
that's
if
why.
that is Dennis Hopper?
it kind of looks
I
like
think it
him.
would
Wait,
have been
yeah.
done well. I think he
But
could
it's
have done
Dennis
well.
Hopper. I mean, it really would have been evil. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, I think it would add a different depth to it. But this
Yeah.
one's a little more.
Or maybe
Cartoony.
he read the script and said that he wasn't
comic.
available.
Without their leader, the hosts follow the doctor's orders and fly him up to the bridge, breaking through the deck. The doctor sends the Titanic towards Earth in an accelerated freefall to restart the engines. The engines engage and the doctor pulls up, averting crashing into Buckingham Palace. He realizes Astrid was wearing a teleport bracelet which has an emergency feature to protect the customers. The doctor tries to reactivate the teleport, but she is too far gone, and the equipment is too damaged to bring her back fully. The doctor releases her essence into space, where she can travel among the stars.
Did they say beforehand what he was doing, or did they only say after the fact that he was restarting the engine with the heat of the re-entry?
After the fact.
after the fact.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Well, I got the whole Star Trek slingshot around the sun feel.
And
So I thought he was going there for a reason
The
so he
doctor's
could-
got a plan.
I didn't. I thought he was just trying to prevent the ship from crashing. Yeah, I'm sure it's all there, but everything was happening very chaotically, and it wasn't very easy to follow.
And the music also crescendoed into
Yeah.
a huge.
No, I knew.
Oh, he's
I
doing
knew
something.
I knew something was
spectacular.
up. Like, was he? What is
Not
this? I just thought he was going to do something so the crash wasn't so bad, or because I couldn't remember exactly what happened to the episode. And
So I make this mistake often. I watched this episode with someone who's never seen Doctor Who before.
Oh, no.
Stop doing that.
Oh, no.
But they're like, this is pretty good. Not bad. They weren't lost all the way through until the crash sequence. I was like, that was just...
Where I really, really, really lose it is he puts his arms out, snaps his fingers.
Yeah.
And the angels just lift him up, Christ-like.
And what makes him the next line of authority?
The script.
Yeah.
It's like they needed to get him to the bridge really, really fast. That infuriates me so much that when he does put it into the dive of Buckingham Palace and he calls the Queen and the Queen's getting out with the corgis, I'm laughing at that. Because I'm kind of like, okay, I've already, it's like I just wrote this episode off 2 minutes ago. So now I'm just going to go along with the craziness and happy Christmas, Doctor. I mean, it's funny,
They're missing a couple corgis, though.
Yes, they are. Yeah. But so it's like I don't mind the dive because the music's good, and I'm laughing at the Queen. It also does kind of open up the world a little bit because I love the fact that Queen Elizabeth II is familiar with the Doctor. It's like, oh, hi, all right, see you for tea next time.
I like the idea of it. I just don't think it was that big of a... It was... If they just put it in the beginning, like, hey, I have this idea, I'm going to do this. I'm not sure if it's going to work. I just think that if they told us what he was trying to do in the beginning, it still would have been enough tension to see if it was actually going to work or not, rather than a quick throwaway line after.
I think at that point it was needed to be quick.
Did he...
Because I didn't know what he was doing. I did think he was just trying to get to speed so he could then shoot off
well,
the Earth.
who
but
says that line in the end? Is it someone else or is it him?
says
About, like, he used the re-entry... He did the
He did.
re-entry.
He does.
did? All right.
Or it's just like jump-starting car like we used to do
I
with
get it,
stick
and I like the
shifts.
idea. I just felt it was such a throwaway line. It didn't work for me.
Okay. I did see the life preserver rolling as
That
they were
was
going down. And then when he was going up, I was expecting it to roll back the other way, the way they're doing all this, and it never came back.
Oh, that would have been funny.
See, they just don't
They
come
don't
back.
forget.
Originally, they were going to destroy Buckingham Palace in the first draft.
You're
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh.
There's no way. You already blew up Big Ben.
Thinking what we would have gotten, I think this is fine.
Yeah.
And Capricorn's picture then falls and burns.
Right, yeah.
Well, something
There's another
burns
fall.
on the left. Whatever.
Slade had recently sold all his shares of stock in Max Capricorn and is made extremely rich from this disaster. Mr. Copper expects to go to jail for lying to get his job, but the Doctor has other ideas. Together, they use the bracelets and transport to Earth near the Tardis. The credit card Copper held for the passengers to buy trinkets has £1 million on it, so he stays on Earth to live out his retirement. With a great line.
I did have the thought when Astrid couldn't be saved that if she had traveled with the Doctor, if she was a typical companion, this storyline with a regular companion, he would have been able to save her. Because I feel like I've seen this trick before, something that conveniently is like, oh, because of this, she's been...
Yeah. Well, I think that was the thing, but I think the point of this episode was him failing.
But then why bring back the bracelet?
Because it's the idea. It's the idea of...
But that's the whole
for
thing. It's like
Copper's
he's
line.
already failed. She's already died. So why bring that back to go, do it again?
Well, it could
No,
possibly
I
be...
disagree because it's a lesson that he needs to learn because of, like what Arlene was saying, it's the foreshadowing of what's to come.
Then Copper's
because
line.
Copper's line of, Doctor, if you could decide who lives and who dies, that would make you a monster. So we needed to see him try to get her back and fail because it's going to bug the Doctor. But then the outside observer, who also could have been a really fun companion, says, no, that would make you a monster. You don't have the choice of life or death over people in this universe. And that line makes the silliness of the last 5 minutes okay for me.
Another good companion.
Unfortunately, though, he is
potential
also a thief. But, whatever. That's 50 million credits.
Well, it was on computers. No
It's on
one.
computers. No one actually
That
saw
doesn't
it.
make it okay.
That's not thievery.
It's only the half pennies combined into.
Does anyone else wonder at the end if the Doctor was already planning to take if the Doctor was already planning to take Mr. Copper down to Earth, or was he prompted by the thing that Mr. Copper said to him about if you could decide, it would make you a monster?
No, because he
I-
says that on Earth.
No.
No, he doesn't.
Does he say it upstairs?
He says it on the
Oh,
Titanic.
okay.
I think it was more of his reaction to Slade is what it seemed like.
Yeah, like if this
The
guy's getting
doctor.
The doctor's reaction was Slade, I just became a rich man because of all this. So yeah, and it's like, and this other guy is now worried that he's going to jail for all of this, you know, and it's like,
It's not fair.
Well,
it's just
especially
not-
with
it's legalities rather than what is true right feeling.
and he just likes Mr. Copper, so he's just going to do it.
well, because what Mr. Copper says to the doctor, he says that wouldn't have been my choice or something of who would to be live through this, and he's referring to Slade, and then I think that's partly why the doctor brings Copper down to Earth.
See, I agree with Eugene. That's what I think because I felt like I saw a turn in the doctor because first Mr. Copper comes up and talks to the doctor about like, oh, I'm worried about going to jail, but I guess it's better than dying. No reaction to the doctor. The doctor has no reaction to that. And then Slate comes up and is like, hey, yeah, haha, look at, I'm rich now. And then Mr. Copper says what he says to the doctor. And then I see a turn and the doctor's like, you know what, you're right. And let me do something for you now. Because of I feel like he was prompted by that last exchange that he
Yeah, I
had
can
with
see
Mr.
that.
Copper
Yeah.
to give him I think before that he would have been fine if Mr. Copper would have just been
Yeah,
stayed
maybe.
up there.
I like that. And then I don't know how it sat with other people, but I really, really liked this episode until Astrid became like Stardust, as they call it. That actually gave me anxiety because it's like, that's not existence. Even traveling or anything, like she will never be able to experience anything. And
Yeah,
her like
yeah.
existence and just being
But
part
I don't know
of
how
it.
much she actually is there.
Yeah, and I see it more as he's just being symbolic, and she's whatever remnant is there is just going to fade soon.
Okay, that makes me feel better, but that did give me anxiety
Right, yeah. I
thinking
can
that
see
she's going to be
She's
a
not a-
forever thing that
he's
she's just
trapped
going
her.
to be.
She's not a Stardust life form.
like the molecules that
afterlife.
reformed were just an echo of her. They weren't actually
Yeah, and,
her.
and
But she still felt like she was falling. Like,
yes, because it's an echo. Yeah, it's an echo.
It's
So
like
he's-
the
and he's
memories
just
in your heart.
Yeah,
there you go.
he's just giving what remains of her in their last moments peace.
And then, Mr. Copper asked to travel with him, and he says, I travel alone.
Yeah.
Not the same response he gave to Astrid.
No.
If she had lived, he would have taken him too. I think
Yes.
the fact that
Yes.
yeah, I just think that because look what happens when
Totally agree.
it's too dangerous. Like I just lost my companion. Now there's quickly someone else who may be the new companion, and then she died. And then this, I'm not gonna do this to this guy. It's
Yeah.
not. And he can't even run. And there's a lot of running.
There's a lot of
It was, yeah, I think it was. I can't go through that right now.
Yeah. I don't think they played it very well, but I think that's what was happening.
I like Clive Swift's acting in this scene.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I think it's great how he goes from a buffoon earlier in the episode to like a real heartfelt person.
Yeah, like his exclamation of I'm rich now. I don't know, it hit me this last time like I really felt him being thankful and like,
Stunned.
Yeah. And then his line about I can buy a house with a garden and a
Yeah.
door. And then that
Yeah.
line, I can buy a house with a door? Like where were you living before?
Yeah, I thought the same
Still
thing.
was-
It just
A
made me
weird place.
sad, but also happy for him that he
Yeah.
can do these things now. Oh, and then I also like how he mentions the snow is not really snow. And then the doctor's like, one day it'll be real snow.
Yeah.
So again, it keeps that tradition, motif, whatever you want to call it.
I thought there's a nice little visual in there where the Titanic's out in space across the Earth. You can see the visual. And it it fades over to be the globe inside.
Yeah.
I just like that one. It's a
Yeah.
small little thing,
I
not
also
dealing with the
get a-
storyline. It just, that was a good transition. I like that.
I also get a kick out of when we see the globe on a show like this that's not from America, that the globe isn't on America.
Yeah.
It's not Great America. That's a theme park. There's Great Britain, not Great France, and not
That's-
Great Germany.
That's a fun little line. So across the water is Great France and Great Germany. He says, no, only
Yeah.
Britain is great. And I can, every time I hear that line, I can just hear my mom just being like, really? But it's a great line.
Oh, I also like the bit with the misinformation about they'll all be boxing soon.
Which again was lost on American audiences because of the Boxing Day is not a thing over here. Because you received so much for Christmas, you go through your things and you get rid of stuff, and you give it to charity. That's what I was told by a British person, and you box it up and you're giving to charity, and that's why it's Boxing Day the next day.
I thought it was more of the old-fashioned where you have all your servants working on Christmas Day because you need it.
We just have to do boxes.
Because then that's the next day you
flip
give
it.
them the gifts and they would have it off, and that you do box up stuff for your the servants, and they would have that.
I
off.
don't- we don't even know what it is.
I don't even think British people know where Boxing Day comes from.
So Eugene's looking it up.
Looking it up. It's a
What
bank,
does Wikipedia
It's a bank
say?
holiday.
Exactly. Because then there's also the military thing where that's the day that the officers and their staff members switch places.
No, that's Freaky Friday.
I think it's called vice versa.
Oh, okay. Either one.
It's 18 again.
I wish I was 18 again. What? The George Burns
It was
movie.
a George Burns movie.
Oh.
Okay, so this one says
I'm with you.
Yeah.
in Britain.
That was well done.
Thank you.
In Canada.
In Britain, it was a custom for tradesmen to collect Christmas boxes of money or presents on the first weekday after Christmas as thanks for good service throughout the year.
Another one is a box to collect money for the poor, traditionally, and placed in churches on Christmas Day and opened the next day on Boxing Day. And then sailing ships setting sail would have sealed boxes containing money on board for good luck. And if the voyage is a success, the box would be given to a priest, opened at Christmas, and the contents given to the poor, according to the Spruce.
Sorry, Captain. The box went overboard by accident. No, we don't know where the money went.
Oh, we do know a British guy.
Well spotted.
Now it's transformed into sort of the Black Friday that we know here in America. So it's a more of a retailer, I guess, holiday. This entry just says that there are competing theories of the origin, so even they don't know. Clive Swift, who played Copper, and Jeffrey Palmer, who played the captain, had previously appeared in Doctor Who. Swift played Jobel in Revelation of the Daleks, while Palmer played Undersecretary Masters in Doctor Who and the Silurians, and the Administrator in The Mutants. Jessica Martin, who is the voice of the Queen at the end, played Mags in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. And then I mentioned Bernard Cribbins, and then Colin McFarlane, who was one of the voices of the Heavenly Hosts, went on to play General Pierce in Torchwood: Children of Earth.
Oh.
So I think this is
Really?
this is the most we've had from like classic Who into one modern Who. You can find Voyage of the Damned on Amazon Prime under Season 4. It's listed as the first episode in Season 4, but on the Series 4 DVD, it's on the first disc. And to me, I kind of see it as the capper to Martha's season because it takes place right after her departure. And I think that's why the original song Stowaway, was included in the Season 3 soundtrack CD rather than the Season 4 one.
But it is still strange that the music for this episode is attached to the CD of Season 3.
Well, Stowaway, the original song, is attached to Season 3, but then The Voyage of the Damned Suite is on Season 4's soundtrack.
Oy.
It's very
It's
bizarre.
the music companies.
It's very bizarre. The composer Murray Gold and the arranger Ben Foster and the singer Yamit Mamo make cameo appearances as part of the ship's band.
That's cool.
They're kind of out of focus, but they're in there. Who is Voyage of the Damned good for? Or Voyage of the Damned is good for who? A new viewer, a casual viewer, a fan of the show, or a diehard?
You know, if you'd asked me the first time when I saw this episode, I probably would have said you needed to be a fan of Doctor Who. But I think now, as time has moved on, it's very standalone. So, you know, I'm going to say casual. Have a little familiarity with Doctor Who might help. So I'm going to say this is good for a casual viewer.
I agree. The casual viewer. Maybe a brand new viewer, not so much, because there has to be a little bit of a storyline to the Doctor. But
I was leaning towards fan, but because it is standalone, a casual viewer might enjoy it as well. But I think a fan would enjoy it more because it has those fun fan moments. And I think a lot of that is because it's a Christmas episode and it's for fans to watch on Christmas Day as something fun. So I think I'm just going to say fan.
But I will say that if a new viewer saw this and liked it, it's a good litmus test that they will like everything about the show. But I'll say fan.
I think I'll agree with you, Josh. I was leaning towards casual viewers, but I think like we've all had the same reaction where the first time we watch it is probably like the worst time. So, Yeah, definitely. I would not want to introduce somebody to Doctor Who through this episode. And even as a casual viewer, like I've never sought this episode out again to rewatch. So I'll go with fan.
I think I'm opposite of you.
No.
In that, shut up. In that I liked it the first time I saw it. And the more I watch it, then it's like nitpicking it. But it's one of those that, like a lot of other shows, I want to watch around Christmas. So I do see it more often. And I like it. And I also see that it's not the best episode. Now, if it is Christmas, I think a new viewer would be okay with it. Because it is standalone. You don't need to know a lot of history. They don't refer to it a lot. And when they do, it's on the news. It's like, oh, something has happened in the past. Fine. You can find out that information. I was thinking more casual before that. But if it's Christmas, new. If it's, the middle of July, I would start with something else. Still wouldn't be my first episode. But I say, okay, I'll put me down as a new viewer.
The first time I saw this, I didn't really like it. I kind of wondered, why were we doing this? And I think what I also didn't like about watching it the first time is that it has a new opening theme. And I didn't really like that theme.
That's jarring.
It was way too busy for me. And then on subsequent watchings, figuring out what went into this, like it's a sort of homage to disaster movies. And Russell T. Davies grew up watching disaster movies during Christmas, and so he wanted to give something back to this generation to kind of echo that for him. It's kind of grown on me. I think I'm just going to go with a casual viewer on this one.
Cool.
A friend of mine listens to the podcast and usually follows along with us so he can understand what's going on in the episode and gets a little more in depth to it, which is great. And then jumped ahead to this and then jumped ahead to another one, The Christmas Carol with Matt Smith.
That's a good one.
And I said, those are two great ones to watch at Christmas if you want to watch Doctor Who, because they are standalone. You don't need you can watch them out of sequence, and he really liked it. It's like, no, I would recommend that at Christmas if you want to watch one that's not in you're trying to watch them all in order. Mm-hmm. This one you could definitely jump to or jump back. Same as The Christmas Carol. I think both of those are good standalone Christmas episodes.
Yeah, totally.
Something I noticed at the end of this episode is there's an in memory of Verity Lambert, and I know that we thank her every time. I don't really know. I think she's one of the creators of this show. Was there something about this episode that made people want to attach this in memory?
Well, she recently died in November of 2007, and then this Christmas special, Voyage of the Damned, aired in December of that same year, 2007. So I think it's just the proximity of her death that they tagged it onto this episode because it was the one that was next, as opposed to the next season, which would be kind of like next year at that point. And yeah, we thank her in every episode, and she is the co-creator of Doctor Who and one of the first female producers in the field of men. Doctor Who started in 1963 and she left the staff of BBC in 1969. So that wraps up Voyage of the Damned. Thanks for listening, and see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn.
Find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
You can leave comments there or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
the longest-running sci-fi show in history,
and especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davies.
Thanks to Russell,
Sydney Newman,
Verity Lambert,
Ron Grainer,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Do you want to do that? I was going to do that later.
Okay, well, I just figured you just died.
You keep saying I was going to do that later, but you haven't done any of them yet.
Because we're not at later.
Okay.
Usually all that behind-the-scenes stuff is done after.
How long is
Later
this?
on Who Knew.
Oh, it's later.
We started this, around
We had a lot of
1925?
pauses.
2.5 hours later.
It's not our problem. It's Eugene's problem later.
I like the cut of your jib.
I don't know if I should say it's later on or now.
Say it now,
But-
we'll decide.
And if he doesn't like it, he'll just mark it out and put it where it's supposed to
And
be.
by we mean Eugene.
Yeah, the collective we, me.
Yes. Yes, Eugene.
We upside down is me.
It's true. You can't.
Well, the
deny
upside
Only if
down
it's
E is the
capital.
right?
If you do a capital, it's still...
It's not, is that a schwa? What is that?
No, it's ew.
No, that's backwards.
Yeah, that's
Not upside down.
There's something
I'm
from
turning it that way. I'm not looking at this way.
Either way,
Still
upside
the
down
same
is
thing.
weed.
If you can't see me because we're on podcast, I'm turning like a steering wheel rather than flipping it towards you like a page.
It's still me.
Oh, that doesn't look safe.
Never mind.
No, keep going.
Yeah.
This is scintillating.
Perfect podcast material.
Auburn upside down is Frank.
Is it me?
Yes, it's always you.
No.
That's why we have a podcast.
Oh, that's why?
Yeah, that's why.
Sorry.